God wants you to hear this before the enemy convinces you it is too late. If you have been feeling invisible, passed over, or forgotten, stop what you are doing right now and listen. This message did not find you by accident. It was placed in your path for a reason, and I need you to stay with me, because what I am about to say has the power to shift something deep inside you, something that has been waiting a long time to be said, something that heaven has been holding for this exact moment, for you, for today, for right now. My dear child, I need you to hear something you may have stopped believing a long time ago. I have not forgotten you, not when the silence stretched so long it began to feel like abandonment. Not when the prayer you whispered in the dark seemed to dissolve into nothing. Not when life kept moving all around you and you stood still, wondering if I even noticed. I noticed. I notice everything about you. I have always noticed. Every morning you woke up and pressed forward even though you did not feel like it. I noticed. Every night you lay in the dark with a heart too heavy to sleep and still chose to believe. I noticed. Every time you showed up for someone else, even though your own pain was loud, I noticed. I know the dream you stopped mentioning out loud because it became too painful to keep hoping for. I know the name you stopped bringing to me because the waiting wore you all the way down. I know the moment you looked around at what seemed like everyone else receiving their breakthrough and you quietly asked, "What about me, Lord? Am I not worth answering?" My child, you are worth everything to me. You always have been. Before you ever did anything to earn it, you were worth everything to me. There is something I need you to understand about my silence, because I know the silence has been the hardest part. I know it has been the thing that has shaken your faith more than any trial, more than any loss, more than any disappointment. Not the hard times themselves, but the quiet that seemed to surround them. The prayers that went out and nothing seemed to come back. The moments when you needed to hear from me most and the heavens felt sealed, like the ceiling of the world was made of stone and nothing you said could get through. My child, I need you to hear me clearly. My silence has never been rejection. It has never been distance. It has never been a sign that I turned away, that I lost patience with you, that I was disappointed in you, or that I decided you were not worth the attention you were asking for. My silence has never meant any of those things, not once, not ever. Silence is not the same as absence, and waiting is not the same as being forgotten. I need you to hold onto that truth, because the enemy has spent a great deal of time trying to convince you of the opposite, trying to make the silence feel like proof that no one is listening, trying to make the waiting feel like evidence that nothing is coming. He is a liar. He has always been a liar. And the lies he tells most aggressively are the ones aimed at the truth he fears the most, which is the truth that I am with you, I have not left you, and everything I have promised you is still on the way. When a sculptor is working on something precious, there are long stretches of quiet. Chips fall, dust rises. The stone looks rough and unfinished and formless. To someone watching from the outside, from the wrong angle or from too far away, it might look like nothing is happening. But the sculptor has not forgotten the stone. The sculptor is working most carefully, most precisely, most intentionally in those quiet moments, shaping what cannot be rushed, refining what the eye cannot yet see, removing everything that does not belong so that what remains is something true and something beautiful. That is what I have been doing in your waiting. I have been shaping you in the quiet. I have been building something in you that noise would have destroyed and shortcuts would have cheapened. I have been doing the deep work that only comes through seasons that feel long and that only produces fruit that lasts. I have been protecting a promise I made over your life before you drew your first breath. And my child, I do not break my promises, not one of them. You have looked at your waiting and called it punishment, but I look at your waiting and call it preparation. You have looked at the silence and called it abandonment, but I look at the silence and call it the sacred space where I am doing my most careful, most loving, most necessary work. You have looked at the delays in your life and called them signs that you are behind, that you missed something, that you are not as favored or as worthy as the people around you whose timing seemed to work out more smoothly. But I look at those same delays and I see the exact, perfect timing that will make everything come together the way it was always meant to, in the season that was always set aside for it, at the moment when you are ready in ways you are not yet aware of. My child, Do you know how many times I've held back the enemy's hand before it could reach you? Do you know how many traps were laid for you that you walked right past because I moved them before you arrived? Do you know how many doors I closed that would have led you into harm, into heartbreak, into bondage, into seasons that would have cost you far more than you can imagine? Do you know how many times I redirected your steps even when you were frustrated, even when the long road made you question everything, even when the closed door felt like punishment? I was not absent in any of those moments. I was more present than you knew. I was working on your behalf in every single one of them, and I was doing it because I love you too much to let you walk into something that was not meant for you. I see the weight you carry, my child. I see it even when you smile for everyone else. I see the exhaustion that lives behind your eyes, the kind that a good night of sleep does not touch because it goes so much deeper than the body. I see the way you hold yourself together in front of people and then fall apart in the moments when you are finally alone. I see the quiet grief you have been holding for the version of your life you thought you would have by now, the one that looked so different in your imagination, the one that felt close once, the one that seems to have drifted further with every year that passed without it. I see the way you compare your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight, and I see how much that comparison has cost you. And I want you to know something that I need you to hear all the way down to your bones. I'm not unmoved by any of that. I do not sit at a cold and comfortable distance watching you struggle and feeling nothing. Your pain moves me. Your tears matter to me. Every prayer that you sent up and heard nothing back, I heard it. I kept it. Every honest cry that came from your heart in the dark has been received by me, carefully and completely. Nothing you have ever brought to me in sincerity and in pain has been wasted, not one moment of it, not one prayer, not one tear. But my child, I need you to make room in your heart for this truth today, because this is the truth that the enemy has fought the hardest to keep you from believing. Being forgotten and being in process are not the same thing. I know they do not feel the same when you are living through them. I know that from the inside, the waiting feels indistinguishable from being overlooked. But they are not the same. They produce different things. They are moving toward different ends. And right now, you are not being overlooked. You are being prepared. You are in process. And what I am preparing in you is something worth the time it is taking. A seed that has been planted underground looks forgotten. From the surface, there is nothing to see. No proof that anything is happening. No sign that life is at work underneath. But beneath the surface, that seed is doing the most important work of its entire existence. It is pushing through the dark soil. It is reaching for something it cannot yet see. It is gathering everything it needs for the moment it breaks into the light. It is becoming what it was always created to be, and it is doing that work in a place where no one can watch. That is you, my child, right now. In this very season that has felt so long and so quiet and so full of uncertainty, you are not forgotten. You are becoming, and what you are becoming is more than you have dared to hope for, and it is worth every day of the wait. I also need you to hear this, because I know the weight of feeling invisible goes deeper than just the waiting. I know there were moments when you felt completely unseen by the people around you, not just by me, but by the people who were supposed to show up for you and did not. When you did everything right, and still nothing seemed to change. When you showed up faithfully, gave your best, poured yourself out, loved generously, sacrificed quietly, and still walked away feeling passed over, unacknowledged, like you were somehow less visible than everyone else in the room. When the people who should have celebrated you looked right through you instead. When the effort you put in was met with silence or indifference, or worse, with someone else getting the credit. When the doors you knocked on stayed closed, while you watched others walk through doors that seemed to open effortlessly. Those moments did not go unseen by me. I saw every single one of them. And I want you to understand something about the people and situations that made you feel small, that made you question your worth, that planted seeds of doubt about whether you had enough, whether you were enough, whether you would ever be enough. They did not have the final word over your life. They never did. I do. And what I say over you has never changed. Not once, not by even the smallest degree. I called you chosen before the world had the chance to call you anything else. I called you loved before anyone had the chance to make you feel unwanted. I called you purposeful before the enemy had the chance to whisper that you were useless or replaceable or too broken to be used for anything that matters. Those words I spoke over your life before you were born, before you had done a single thing to earn them, before you had succeeded or failed, before you had made any of the decisions you are proud of or any of the ones you wish you could take back, they are still standing. They are still true. They are still the most real thing about you. Nothing that has happened since has erased them. Nothing you have done or left undone has weakened them. They are as true and as powerful today as they were the moment I first spoke them, and they will be just as true tomorrow and the day after that and every day that follows. Do you remember the nights when you cried out to me and felt nothing come back? I was there. I want you to know that with everything I am. I was there in every one of those nights. I was closer than the silence made it feel, more present than the distance your heart perceived. I was listening to every word, even the ones you could not finish, even the prayers that fell apart in the middle before you could reach the end of them. Even the prayers that were not really prayers at all, just a groan, just a question you were afraid to say out loud, just a barely whispered, "I do not know how much longer I can do this." I caught all of it, every fragment, every broken sentence, every prayer said through tears that blurred the words before they even fully formed. I held every single one carefully, the way you hold something precious, because everything you bring to me is precious to me. Not just the polished prayers said in the right setting with the right words, but all of it. The messy ones, the desperate ones, the ones that came out wrong, the ones you were not even sure you believed when you said them. All of them reached me. You were never speaking into an empty room, my child. You were speaking to a father who was leaning close to hear every word. You were never talking to silence. You were talking to me, and I was always, always listening. There is something else I need to say to you today, and I need you to receive it clearly because the enemy has worked very strategically to distort this particular truth. He has worked hard to make you feel like you are running out of time. He has used your age and your circumstances and your unmet expectations and the gap between where you are and where you thought you would be to whisper that it is too late for you, that the window you were meant to walk through has already closed and no amount of faith or prayer or effort is going to open it again. That everyone else has moved on and you have been left behind, standing in the same place, asking the same questions, carrying the same burdens, while the rest of the world moves forward without you. But I need you to hear me on this, my child, because this is one of the most important things I will say to you today. It is not too late. It has never been too late. I am not a God who runs out of ways to restore what was lost, or reclaim what was stolen, or rebuild what was broken. I am not limited by the years that felt wasted, or by the time the enemy managed to steal from you. What I have purposed for your life does not have an expiration date. My plans for you were not cancelled by your detours. They were not ruined by your failures, or your wrong turns, or your seasons of wandering. They were not buried under your worst decisions or the things that were done to you that you had no control over. They are still alive. They are still in motion. They are still moving toward you, even now, even in this moment when it is hardest to believe that anything is moving at all. I want to speak to you now about the enemy, because I believe you need to understand what has truly been happening behind the scenes of your life. You need to understand this not to give him more attention than he deserves, but so that you can stop blaming yourself for the battles you have been walking through. The enemy has not been coming after you because you are weak. He has not been targeting you because you are insignificant or ordinary, or because you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. He has been coming after you because he knows what you carry. He knows the calling on your life. He has seen, far longer than you have, the threat you represent to his kingdom once you fully step into who I made you to be. The attack has always been proportional to the purpose. The resistance you have faced has been sized to match the destiny that is attached to your name. That is something the enemy understood about you long before you understood it about yourself. When you experienced heartbreak after heartbreak, it was not because you were unlovable or because something was fundamentally wrong with you. It was because the enemy wanted to wound your heart deeply enough that you would close it off and never be able to give it to the people I made you to reach. When people you trusted betrayed you and left you feeling foolish for having believed in them, it was not because I was absent or because you deserve to be hurt. It was because the enemy uses wounded people to wound people who are carrying something valuable, and you have always been carrying something valuable, even in the seasons when you could not feel it yourself. When the doubts came and you questioned your worth and your identity, and whether I was even real and whether any of this meant anything, those doubts were not revelation. They were warfare. They were carefully aimed weapons pointed at the exact places in you where your identity lives, where your faith is rooted, where your sense of purpose is anchored. Because the enemy knew that if he could shake those foundations, if he could get you to agree with the lies, he could keep you from ever becoming the person I always intended you to be. But here is what the enemy did not account for, and this is the part I need you to hold on to. He did not count on my faithfulness outlasting his persistence. He did not count on my love for you being greater than every strategy he devised against you. He did not count on you still being here, still listening, still reaching, still breathing, still holding on to even a thread of faith after everything you have walked through. You are still here. That is not a small thing. That is everything. You have gone through storms that were designed to destroy you, and you are still standing. You have carried weights that were intended to break you down permanently, and you are still moving forward. You have survived seasons that the enemy fully expected to be your ending, and instead they are becoming part of your testimony. He brought everything he had. It was not enough. You made it through. You kept going. And the fact that you are here, hearing this right now, is proof that his plans for your life have failed. My beloved child, I want you to stop measuring your worth by how long the answer has taken. Stop measuring my love by the length of the wait. Stop measuring your future by the pain of your past, because the pain of your past is not a forecast of what is coming. It is the contrast that will make what is coming shine so much brighter. I am a God who makes all things new, not some things, not the easy things, not the things that only needed a small amount of work. All things. That includes the parts of your story that you have given up on, the chapters you closed and told yourself were finished because you could not see how they could ever be redeemed. That includes the relationships that seemed beyond repair. That includes the dreams that went so quiet you almost forgot they had ever been alive in you. That includes the version of yourself that got buried under years of disappointment and trying and failing and being hurt by people who should have known better. I have not forgotten any of it, and I want you today, with all the love I have for you, please do not forget it either. Please do not give up on the story before you have seen the ending. There is a chapter coming in your life that will make the reader go back to the hard chapters and understand them differently. There is something ahead of you that will cause you to look back on the silence and recognize it, not as absence, but as the most sacred, most productive, most important season of your entire journey. There is a moment coming when everything I have been doing in the quiet will suddenly become visible, and what looked from the outside like nothing will reveal itself as everything. I need you to be there for that moment. I need you to still be standing when it arrives. I need you to keep going, even now, even on the days when going feels impossible, even when the silence is the loudest thing in the room, even when the waiting has become so heavy that every step forward requires more strength than you feel like you have. Keep going, keep showing up, keep bringing your heart to me, even in pieces, even without the right words, even when the faith feels thinner than you would like it to be. A flame that is barely flickering is still a flame. And I will cup my hands around it and protect it and feed it until it becomes a fire again, because that is who I am. And you, my child, are who I am doing it for. I want to speak to you now about something that I believe has been sitting on your heart for a very long time. Something you have carried quietly, maybe even privately, without telling many people because you were not sure how to explain it or whether anyone would truly understand. There have been moments in your life, perhaps many moments, when you felt like you were the only one who was not moving forward. When it seemed like the people around you were stepping into new seasons, new blessings, new chapters, while you remained in the same place, asking the same questions, dealing with the same struggles, feeling the same heaviness. And in those moments, something crept in that was harder to shake than sadness. It was the quiet suspicion that maybe you were different. Maybe you were not favored the same way. Maybe there was something about you specifically that made the blessing harder to reach, the breakthrough harder to come, the open door harder to find. My child, I need to address that thought directly because it is one of the most damaging lies the enemy has ever planted in a believing heart. You are not less favored. You are not on a lesser path. You are not someone I love at a lower level than the people around you whose lives seem to be moving forward more visibly. Favor does not always look the same on every life. My timing does not follow a pattern that the human eye can easily track. What looks like favor from the outside is often the result of a journey that was just as long, just as painful, just as full of silent waiting as yours. You just did not see the years of quiet before the breakthrough came. What looks like a sudden blessing is often the fruit of a seed that was planted in a season of grief that no one filmed and no one shared and no one made into a testimony until the harvest finally arrived. Your season is coming. Your harvest is being prepared. And when it arrives, it will be everything I promised. It will be worth the wait, not just adequate, not just enough. Worth every single day you held on when letting go would have been easier. I also want you to understand something about the people I have placed in your life and the people who have left it. Not everyone who walked away from you was a loss, even when it felt devastating. Some of the people I removed from your path were there to teach you something I could not teach you any other way. Some of the doors that closed were protecting you from something you never fully saw. And some of the loneliness you have felt in certain seasons was not emptiness, it was clearing. It was me creating space. Space for the right people, the right connections, the right relationships, the right conversations that will carry you into what is next. I have been very intentional about your relationships, even the painful ones, even the ones that ended in ways you would not have chosen. I have been working in all of it. Every person, every parting, every season of company, and every season of solitude, all of it has been moving toward something. And what it is moving toward is good. What it is moving toward is the fullness of the life I planned for you before the foundation of the world. There is a peace that belongs to you that you have not yet fully walked into. There is a rest that carries your name that you have not yet been able to find, not because it does not exist, but because the path to it required going through exactly the terrain you have been walking. You cannot rush what I am doing. I know that has been the most difficult part. I know that your heart is ready, that your desire is genuine, that you have been willing and waiting and prepared for what feels like longer than is fair. But my child, readiness of heart and readiness of season are two different things. I have been preparing not only you, but everything around you. The circumstances, the connections, the timing, the doors that need to be open, the things that need to shift, the people who need to be in position. All of it is part of what I am orchestrating. And I am doing it with a level of precision and care that you will one day be able to look back on and see clearly, even the parts that made the least sense while you were living through them. So please, my child, do not give up now. Do not let the weariness of the wait convince you to put down the very thing I am asking you to carry just a little longer. Do not let the silence be interpreted as a verdict. Do not let the delay be received as a denial. You are in the middle of a story that has not finished being written. You are in a chapter that requires more trust than you have ever had to exercise, more patience than has ever been asked of you, more faith than you knew you were capable of. And the reason it requires so much is because of what comes next, because of what this season is building in you, because of what you are going to be able to say on the other side of this, not just as a personal testimony, but as a word of life for someone else who will be exactly where you are now and will need to hear from someone who truly walked through it that it was worth it, that God was faithful, that the silence was not emptiness, that the waiting was not abandonment, that the story did not end in the hard chapter, that the ending was more beautiful than anything they could have written for themselves. That is going to be your testimony, and it is going to reach people that nothing else could reach, because you did not give up, because you held on, because you are still here. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, your support does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our Daily Light of Christ community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you are not just visiting a site. You are entering a family of like-minded believers who understand what it means to walk through the hard seasons and still choose to believe, who know what it is to pray without seeing and to trust without feeling and to keep going without knowing exactly where the road is leading. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with people who speak the language of faith and who will stand with you in prayer when you do not have the strength to stand alone. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for someone who is sitting right now in the same place you have been, wondering if God has forgotten them, wondering if they matter, wondering if the silence means that no one is there. Your seed reaches them. Your presence changes things. Give and it will be given to you. That is the promise that sustains this shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with your questions and your burdens and your tired and honest heart. You will find people who understand, a prayer wall where your name will be lifted before heaven, and a community that will remind you on your hardest days that you are not alone and you have never been forgotten. Come with purpose. Join the conversation. Plant your seed in fertile ground. Let us open the heavens together. I want to say one more thing before we close, and I want you to carry it with you long after this message has ended. I want it to be the thing you return to when the doubt comes back, because I know the doubt will come back, and I want this truth to be louder than it is. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not too late, too old, too damaged, too used up, too far behind, or too lost to be found. Those are lies. They have always been lies. They will never be anything but lies. I see you completely. I see every failure, every flaw, every moment you are not proud of, every compromise and every stumble, and every time you fell and wondered if you would ever get back up again. I see all of it, and I love you completely. Not despite those things, but with full knowledge of them, with full awareness of every part of your story, the parts you share, and the parts you hide, and the parts that have never been spoken out loud to anyone. My love for you is not conditional on your consistency. It is not based on how clean your record is, or how strong your faith has been, or how many times you have managed to choose right over wrong. It is based on one thing only, and that is who I am. And who I am is love. Unchanging, unrelenting, unshakable, unconditional love. For you, always for you. From the very beginning for you. You were not a mistake. You were not an afterthought. You were not someone I created by accident and then lost track of in the chaos of everything else. You were dreamed into being by a God who had a plan for your life from the very beginning. A specific, intentional, beautiful plan that took your personality and your pain and your gifts and your history into account. A plan that was designed for you and only you. A plan that has not been cancelled by anything that has happened since. Not by your failures, not by your wounds, not by the things that were done to you or the things you have done that you wish you could undo. Not by the years that felt like they were lost. Not by the enemy's interference, not by anything. That plan is still standing. It is still in motion. It is still coming for you. And I am still the one who holds it. Hold on, my child. I am working. I have always been working. And I am not finished with you yet, not even close. And while I have you here, let me say one more thing about the journey itself, because I do not want you to spend another day misreading what you have been walking through. The hard seasons of your life were not signs that you were outside of my will. They were not proof that you made too many mistakes or that you took too many wrong turns for me to still be guiding you. Difficulty does not mean displacement. Struggle does not mean abandonment. Pain does not mean punishment. Some of the people closest to my heart in all of history walked through the most difficult roads imaginable, not because I had turned from them, but because the road they were on was leading somewhere significant, somewhere that required the kind of character and depth and resilience that only comes from walking through the fire and finding that I am in the fire with you. I was in every fire with you. I am in this one now. And I will be in every one that comes after, until the day you are finally home and there are no more fires to walk through. I know you are tired. I'm not asking you to pretend you are not. I'm not asking you to perform strength you do not feel or manufacture joy that is not yet real for you. I am asking something simpler and harder than that. I'm asking you to trust me one more day, just today. You do not have to figure out next month or next year or how any of this eventually works out. You just have to trust me with today. Bring me what you have. Bring me your honest heart, even if your honest heart is weary and confused and asking questions you are afraid to ask out loud. I can handle your questions. I'm not threatened by your doubt. I'm not disappointed by your struggle. I am here, right in the middle of all of it, and I am inviting you to let me be here with you instead of trying to manage all of it alone. You were never meant to carry any of this by yourself, and you do not have to anymore. Let us pray together. Lord Jesus, I come to you right now on behalf of every heart that is hearing this message. You know, the one who almost kept scrolling. You know, the one who is carrying grief so old they have stopped trying to name it. You know, the one who has prayed the same prayer so many times the words feel worn smooth, who has waited so long that hope itself feels like a risk they are not sure they can afford anymore. Meet them here, Lord. Let this be the moment the silence finally breaks, not with noise, but with the deep and settled knowing that you have been present every single day of the wait. That not one prayer was wasted, that not one tear fell without you seeing it, that not one moment of their waiting has been empty or purposeless or outside of your care. Heal the places in them that have confused your patience with your absence. Restore the hope that the long season has worn thin. Where fear has taken root, plant courage. Where exhaustion has settled deep, bring renewal that only you can bring. Where hope has gone quiet, let it rise again, stronger than it was before it went silent. Remind them that you are the God who numbers every tear, who calls them by name, who sees them fully, who loves them completely, and who has not forgotten a single thing they have brought to you. Let them feel that today. Not just know it, but feel it in the deepest, most tired, most hidden part of who they are. In Jesus' name, Amen. If this message spoke to your heart today, type, "I'm not forgotten" in the comments, and share this with someone who needs to be reminded that God has not lost sight of them, that the silence was never emptiness, that the waiting was never abandonment, that his love does not forget, and neither does he.